Hello, I'm Waxela, and I'm excited for this next edition of the Ascension list, where I share my favorite people, products, and services with you. And today, I'm so happy to share Gail and Gregory Hoag. Welcome, Gail and Gregory.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so fun to be here.
It is. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's so good to have you again. And I've interviewed you before. And so, just for a little uh, background on what we're up to here today, I had you on season 4 of The Alchemy of Ascension. And during that time, you made an offer of the Heart Companion pendant, and which I have one now, and I'll show more about that in a minute. But interesting story. I was going to order one, and you know how it is when you do a summit, things just get busy, right? So we kind of forgot. And I went to a friend's birthday, and she was wearing one, and I was so drawn to her, like, oh my gosh, is that a Metaforms pendant? She's like, yes, it is. And here are all the amazing things that have happened since I got it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to go home. And I went home and ordered mine that same day. And this is about a month ago. I started wearing it. And I've had some really interesting experiences since I got it. And I started writing them down. And, here's the thing, and this is what I get to ask you about, is I don't know how much of it is because of the pendant, like I don't know how to measure that. But fortunately, you do have some measurements you can show us. But just for starters, some of the things that I started to notice is the very first week that I put it on, I'm disclosure here, I am online dating. So I'm meeting a lot of people, going on dates. I was asked out on 5 dates on the first week that I put it on, which is unusual, like what? So that was the first thing. I was like, wow, that's interesting, a big shift. Like there was this kind of reception to me that I experienced. And then there were several synchronicities that kept happening. And I noticed I kept getting invited to things and invited to collaborate and invited to speak and like lots of invitations were coming my way. And then this is really powerful. I had so I was meditating and I had a really, really deep soul integration experience. Some people would call it integration of the monad, or I called it, meeting my soul being. And I made a video about it. It was a very powerful experience for me, which happened after wearing it for a couple weeks. And how I don't know if that would have happened anyway. I don't know if it, like how much it facilitated that. But the thing that I've really noticed is all of these synchronicities and invitations and expansion happening since I received it. So that's pretty fun.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? It's pretty common. We hear these stories all the time, which is so fun. Now, we've been doing this work with sacred geometry for now over 36 years. And we've had the pendant out for, gosh, what is it, about 10 years, something in that neighborhood? So we have had an abundance of stories. And I was the first one who got a chance to wear the pendant when we were, like in the design and, constructing it. And I finally had a prototype and I wore it and I went, wow. And I don't know whether you realize this or not, because I know you have a lot of, you're a very wise and intuitive woman. I noticed that one of the things that happened for me was that my intuition was off the charts. It just, I have always been a highly intuitive woman, and it just really increased significantly. And then the next thing was that alignment with soul. And I think, what you're speaking to is when you're in that situation where you are so much more connected, where you don't have all the distractions, all the other things that tend to get your attention, then there's so much more that you become aware of. And that's where things like the synchronicities are happening. Those experiences, they're really so normal under real situations, when we're not being distracted. When we're connected, that's exactly what's supposed to happen, because we have a vibrational energy that is attracting that which is now more clear in us. So, having the experiences that you're having are just, right in track with what we've experienced and what so many other people have shared with us.
And that aspect of being asked out so much, there are things going on energetically in the universe that we often don't notice. And when you're around children or animals, they will be attracted to energy. And human beings are not as sensitive to that. But when you start wearing the pendant, there's an energy field that goes out that really starts making you more attractive, whether you realize it or not. And people have, shared this with us again and again, how I had one woman, I remember once, she was gay, lesbian, and she was very angry. She thought people were always judging her and not very open to her. I let her wear the pendant at the show, and she walked around, and she came back. She said, everyone was so nice to me. I felt so much love. And the thing was, her field had shifted. And when her field shifted, everyone else looked at her in a different way, just like animals are attracted to you. And kids, I had one grandmother say that what I love about the pendant is that before wearing the pendant, my grandkids used to run away from me. They didn't want to be around me. Now they crawl all over me. They run at me when I come there. And it's just that attraction. And the same with synchronicities. I was talking to a man the other day from Belize who had our pendant, and his sister did. And he said, that's been one of the amazing things. So many synchronicities. And what's beautiful about synchronicity is it really is the universe letting you know you're in sync with it, that you're important, that you're there, part of the whole. And that's really what these pendants do. They have over 35 antenna systems inside that we've been working with sacred geometry and how to work with energy, as Gail said, for over 36 years. And so these antenna systems are activated in a chamber on our land that has a lot of moving forms inside and frequencies that it generates. And it smooths out the pendants so that they start vibrating with the archetypical, the higher dimensional aspects of this reality. And then when you wear it, you start vibrating at a higher level. And that's when your intuition changes, your vibration changes, the way you see things, the way you feel. That's the most important, is so many people start to just feel this sense of connection, this sense of joy, this sense everything is okay. Because really everything is. You're here on the planet to explore and discover, and the universe is supporting you. And our job is just to recognize it, to allow it. And that's what happens with the pendant. It literally puts us in a space where we can relax and start to allow.
Yeah, on that note, something I've noticed is this feeling of like it's really almost giddiness. Like I'm a little like some people would say a little too happy. But like just this like, oh yeah, I got like 500 things to do today and I'm okay with it, like just a little, like there's a lightness to everything. that
Yeah.
it feels really good. And I wear mine right over, I can't really see it, but right over my heart. It's right here. I intentionally got the chain that was the length where it would be right over my heart.
Mhm. That's generally where I wear it too. When we're recording, I have it up here because I don't want it to interfere with my microphone. So people have actually asked me about that. So that's why I mentioned it. But at the heart, that's really where you want it because it's about helping us train ourselves to work through the heart, to live through the heart, to listen to the wisdom of the heart. And so it's activating that sense. And there could even be a time during the day where, there's something going on and you put your hand over your heart and you feel that pendant and it gets activated. So that positioning is really important. And I love some of the things that you've experienced too, that you've been sharing um, with that soul connection. Aren't we moving into just an amazing transformative time where so much has been breaking down? Well, we know that in order for that new rising, the whether you want to call it the, rising from the ashes, as the phoenix is, coming back to life again and transforming, there's so much that we're moving into. And to be connected more deeply with soul is precisely what's important. So I love that you had that spontaneous experience in your meditation.
And I do want to add that the thymus is often called the high heart. So anywhere in that region, mostly it's just having it on your body, because when it's within your etheric field, then the energy is going into your body and affecting your whole field. And that's something I can show you in a little bit. Some of the tests we've done, scientists have worked with our tools and measured some of the changes that have been going on with the physical body.
Yeah. Because, on one hand, at being, spiritual people who have been working on a lot of their, whether you want to call it your issues, your karma, whatever, we've done, we've all done a lot of work. And so sometimes, we can get a new tool and wonder, well, was that going to happen anyhow? Well, it's hard to say yes or no on that. However, what we do know is that the more connected you are, the process accelerates. And I know that's a lot of what your work is about, is accelerating the process so that we're not in a place of resistance. We're in that place of really accepting fully who we are. So, so there's very specific reasons why these pendants are working because of the technology that has really brought this all together, working with sacred geometry, working with resonance, working with specific substances, so that we are in a place where we're in that place of synchronicity, of harmony, of coherence. And, just like I like to share the example of going to, whether it's a sacred site or a beautiful place in nature, someplace that is a sanctuary for you, you get a chance to just relax. There isn't that same interference pattern that we are subjected to so often. And then we get to experience so much more of who we are. And that, that's a place where we can emerge, where, we can step aside when there are things that may in a more, in a past situation seem stressful. We can step back and we can kind of like see ourselves from another perspective, from a soul perspective. We can take that breath. We don't have to react the way we may have been programmed to react. And that enables us to make a lot of progress and attract the right people that we want to have in our lives.
Yes, indeed. And there is so much like frequency noise out there in the world. I feel like to have the support of, okay, I'm covered, and there's, it's sort of almost like blocking some of that noise. That's really helpful. especially this day and age of 5G and all of the Wi-Fi and whatever's floating around out there.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the main things that the pendant does, is that the things like 5G, and people are worried about 5G, but we've been suffering for hundreds of years under the frequencies generated by the Industrial Revolution, electricity that's been creating a field that blocks the subtle energies in our environment, all the toxins that are being produced today. What that does is it blocks our connection to the subtle bodies, to our higher self. And as a consequence, people are more and more falling into fear and separation because they don't have that connection. And earlier, I wanted to show you a slide, and I talked to you about, this is a slide that's showing how the diameter of the moon at 2,160 miles is equal to time, in the sense there's a great year where each sign in the zodiac goes through 2,160 years. And that's resonant with the diameter of the moon. And both of those are resonant with a cube that has 2,160 degrees in it, if you take all the angles and add them up. So this is one aspect of resonance that we're working with, as in the pendant, we have so many different antenna systems that are resonating with these archetypes, that, like the geometries and the moon and the sun and the earth, all have particular frequencies that we can tap into. So that's what's happening with these pendants when we're wearing them.
Fascinating. Here. I'm trying to find out how to go back. Did you have another slide to show, or did?
Oh, I can share with you a few more slides. It's like, these are the pendants themselves. So in the center, you see the front side and the back side. There are two sides to these pendants, because one side, when it's toward your body, is moving the energy down. It's very grounding and connecting you into your heart chakra and the earth. The other side is moving the energy up and is more mental. And the things I've listed beneath this are some of the different antenna systems we have inside that are working with. We work with fiber optic cable, carbon fiber. I have oscillating crystals, all kinds of minerals, and working with just frequencies that create a field inside the pendant. And one of the things we had some scientists work on with our pendants was measuring the changes that happened. So here you see they're measuring what's going on inside the body. And in this person, that red in the center is underactive. So you can see their liver is way underactive, their urogenital system. I think this person had been on a flight and had not been drinking enough water. So their body had started shutting down in certain areas. And by hanging on to this pendant for just 5 minutes, what happened was everything came into the balanced green zone. So it's more than just what you're feeling. Your body starts shifting when you give it the space, the energy to shift. And so what I'm showing with this slide is how measure is a harmonic of time, is a harmonic of space. what I was doing before, but this is working with some more geometries that I can show, but it gives you the idea of what we're working with here. Resonance that shifts your resonance. And that's what we've been studying and putting out for the last 36 years.
I love it. I love that you have some science around it and some measurements, and like that's not really how my brain operates, but certainly some people need that and need to see, okay, this has been measured and here's what it does. I know for me, I know that I like it and I like how I feel and I like what's happening. But yeah, if we can, for the linear thinkers and the analytical types, the science is important.
Yeah, and the science is really a deep part of how we got here. In all honesty, we have been working with our guidance, and it's been a very intuitive process in developing all the things that we've done. And over the years, what we've learned is to listen deeply to those messages, and then learn what it's about, come back in and apply the more analytical information. So that helps us to actually relate to how this is in the physical realm, because we're working with pure energy, and energy before it comes into form is something that we don't fully understand. But when it starts to come into form, there are very specific patterns and rhythms and cycles where we see it happening over and over again. And it's just like, when we learn what works, we want to be able to replicate it. And so that's really what we learned how to do, was take it apart, see what are the different pieces. And, in a lot of ways, it was very adventuristic too, like getting the clues and putting it together and then going, oh, so that's why it works. And what's so significant is that it works. We have just heard amazing stories, and people who almost immediately have experiences. And sometimes, in all honesty, it will bring things up. And that's part of the process in life, is to go through and allow things to come up so that we can honor it, we can clear it, and then we can move to the next level. And, it's all, I think it's all being done in a very, very loving and respectful way. And I'm impressed with how much people have shared with us in what they've experienced. When any of us goes to the work of making something and then we put it out in the world, and we just kind of like sit back and go, okay, now what's going to happen? And then we would get all of this amazing and wonderful feedback. Even really mundane things, like I remember at the beginning when we started putting it out, and we had there was a woman who was sharing with us about how she went home and she just started like organizing her whole place. She hadn't been able to do that for years, and she just went through that. And, it was because that clarity, it was like, I want to have more of a clear space in my life. And so she was motivated to do that. And more things just keep happening over time. And even though, some people, what impresses them is when they can, they could feel the energy of it. And if you're a kinesthetic person and you feel that energy, that's great. A lot of people aren't, though. And so what becomes even more important is sit back and watch what's happening in your life, see what this does for you. And also realize it is a tool. It's something that the more that you learn to work with this, the more valuable it can become. So, there's a lot more, you've just sort of begun to tap into it with the first month. So it'll be fun to check in with you again in a couple months and go, hey, now what's happening?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a spreadsheet where I'm writing down like all of the things that have been coming up ever since I got it. So I remember, because, it's easy to forget, like, oh, was that before or after? So I wanted to like keep tabs and just journal it. So I've been
Fabulous.
writing everything down, and it's really fun. Yeah, so I think, thank you for sharing all of this. It's fascinating. And thank you for sharing, and thank you for bringing this, creating it and bringing it to us and helping us all. This is all about ascending our frequency. And this is really a great tool for that. And so, I'm going to follow this with a slide that tells how you can get one for yourself if this is calling to you. And you'll have, I know you have a discount code for us that will be on there, and the links to go get your own if this is something you want. What a great gift for yourself or a loved one for the holidays or for any other time. It's a self-care piece that is a great tool to have on your body.
Mhm.
So thank you so much, you guys.
Oh, you're very welcome. And it's lovely
Really.
being with you again.
Yes, you too. And I'll sign off there. Namaste, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day or evening. Blessings.
Blessings and love.
Blessings and love.